morning, y'all. Things are still a little different. We are still excited to be here this morning with you in your living room or in the car, wherever you're at. We do ask, though, that you check in this morning. It's last month we had a really good month giving water to people in need. This month it's a little different. We're giving, for every 10 check-ins that we do, we're giving a brick to build schools. So it feels a little slower, but it is still really exciting that we get to be a part of a child's education and the life that they have. So please check in. Go ahead on to Elements Facebook page and do that. And tag your friends, get them to check in as well. And real quick also, we don't really have that many announcements because obviously things are still a little slow. But please keep your ears open and your eyes open to see what we're going to be having coming up here. So be listening for that. One more thing, real quick. Go ahead and text your friends. Just let them know you're thinking about them. Give them a high five on your phone if you can. But just let them know that even though we're still apart, that we are still thinking about each other. So I'm going to ask Henry and his team to come up here. We're going to get started with some music. And if you guys want to stand and sing with us, that'd be awesome.
Good morning, everybody. Wherever you are, if you would just join with us this morning and let's praise our God and King. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. So bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. We'll sing like never before. Oh my soul, I worship Your holy name. You're rich in love and You're slow to anger. Your name is great and Your heart is kind. For all Your goodness I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. Bless the Lord, so bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I'll worship Your holy name. And on that day when my strength is failing, the end draws near and my time has come, still my soul will sing your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore, forevermore. So bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I'll worship His holy name. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I'll worship His holy name. Yes, I will worship His holy name. I will worship your holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, worship your holy name. I will worship your holy name. I will worship your holy name. Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, calls for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mountain fixed upon it, the mount of thy redeeming love. Here I raise my Ebenezer, hither by thy help I'm come, and I hope by thy good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Jesus sought me when a stranger, wandering from the fold of God. He to rescue me from danger interposed His precious blood. Oh, to grace, how great a debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy goodness like a fetter bind my wandering heart to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it for thy courts above. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it for thy courts above. Lord, here's my heart, oh, take and seal it for thy courts above. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only, Lord. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Oh, great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. We pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise. Pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only, and all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. And all the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you, holy. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you, only Lord. Great are you, Lord.
So we are going to enter into our time of giving. So if you want to get your phones out, if you want to text to give, there's a couple different ways you can text to give. You can give online. Head to our website, and there's a pretty easy step that you can follow. If you have any questions, feel free to put any comments on our page. But I wanted to just talk to you a quick story that I kind of experienced yesterday, and I didn't think anything of it until this morning. But my wife and I had actually went on a bike ride yesterday. It was the first time in a while, so we're kind of feeling it today. But as we're going down the path, there's a deer along the trail in front of us, and I was actually out in front a little bit, so I tried to get my wife to slow down and stop so we could just kind of look at it and admire it for a second, but her brakes need oil. So as she's squealing to a stop, the deer jumps and it runs off the path. So we pedal up the path a little bit further, and we pull our bikes to the side, and we kind of try to look in the woods, and you look down, and it's like this sheer drop-off where this deer jumped. But I could hear it. I don't know if my wife could hear it, but you could hear it kind of keep running off in the distance, so you know that it was okay. But what's interesting is that the deer didn't necessarily know where it was going. It just saw that there was danger, and it fled. And this morning it kind of reminded me of David. After he was delivered from the hands of Saul and an army, he wrote Psalm 18. And at one point he talks, in verse 30, he says, "As for God, his way is perfect. The Lord's words is flawless. He shields all who take refuge in him. For who is God besides the Lord, and who is the rock except our God? It is God who arms me with strength and keeps my way secure. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer, and he causes me to stand on the heights. He trains my hand for battle. My arms can bend a bow of bronze. You make your saving held my shield, and your right hand sustains me. Your help has made me great. You provide a broad path for my feet so that my ankles do not give way." And the one thing that I want us to take note in that is the fact that he didn't know what his path looked like. All he knew is that God was going to give him a way through it. Right? And in seasons of change, in seasons that are difficult, whether it's finances, whether it's our career path, whatever it looks like, we don't always know what this path looks like. But at the end of the day, that we know our God, like the deer, is going to make a way for us. So if you want to bow your heads and pray with me this morning. Father God, we just want to just thank you for your provision, for everything that you've done for us, for the breath in our lungs, for the life that you've given us. And that, God, even though we don't know what our path looks like ahead, in seasons of change and transition and wonder, God, that you are still good, you are still great, and that you make a way for us. God, we love you so much, and we just ask this morning that you open our hearts, that you open our minds, that whatever we're about to hear, we're able to take and know that you are still good, and your plan and your will be done. God, we love you, and we thank you. In your precious and beautiful name, amen.
Well, good morning, everybody. I want to thank you for joining us online. And if you don't know, my name is Mike. I'm the lead pastor here at Element. We are grateful that you're here with us today. We are halfway through August, which is honestly kind of crazy to think about. And as time is flying, and as I say that, I don't know about you, but I can tell you honestly, when all this stuff started with COVID, I thought maybe this would be something that lasted for a few months and then it would go away. That it was just going to be this really inconvenient thing for a little bit, and summer would come and things would just kind of get back to normal and we'd see it fade out, and by the end of the summer it would pretty much be a thing of the past. But like it or not, we are still dealing with it. And regardless of your perspective on it, how big a deal you think it is or may not be, I'm not taking a position on any of that right now. That's not what this is about. Regardless of your perspective, though, you cannot argue that this is something that we are still having to work through as a country. And honestly, as a planet, we are still dealing with it and have to continue to deal with it. Some of the things that have been, that I've recognized as I've reflected on the repercussions of this, it's been over a year since I've seen a new Marvel movie, which is, I'm going through some withdrawal with that. Trying to watch pro wrestling without fans is really just not the same. And joking aside, that today was supposed to be Faith Night at the Curve, which is just a bummer that that's not happening. It stinks. In a couple weeks, school is supposed to be starting, and if you have kids in school right now, you're probably feeling the effects of this. In our area, the schools are trying, I'm sure as they are around the country really, schools are trying to figure out how to best handle the situation. What is the best approach to be mindful of the concerns of COVID-19? And so you hear options. I know, like Megan and I, we've heard options about returning to normal, going to some sort of a hybrid model, having students go for a couple days and then being at home online for a couple days a week, some staying home all year, staying home for a grading period and checking that out, moving students to different facilities, some grades being home and other grades attending in classrooms and so on. There's lots of options, lots of possibilities. And you hear ideas that you like, and you hear things that you don't like. You hear stuff that you agree with and stuff that you disagree with and so on. And I'm saying this as a dad with two kids who go to school, right? The reality of this. And I'm saying this as a husband whose wife works in different school settings, and we'll have to deal with this. Here's what I understand is this is not an easy thing for our school district leaders to figure out. And I truly mean this. If you haven't, be praying for our community leaders. There is no playbook for dealing with the stuff that we're dealing with. They have to make tough decisions and carry the responsibility and the weight of that. And I'll say it's really easy to be critical of people. But I think as Christians, we need to make sure that we're also praying for them. So please be praying for leaders in our community. When I think about all of this, this is similar to what we've been talking about earlier this summer in our Awaken series, as we talked about Nehemiah. Knowing, right, it's about knowing what you're trying to accomplish, of getting people on board and doing their part to help accomplish it, to figure out what is the best way to be successful at it, and then on the way recognize what adjustments need to be made whenever there are challenges and obstacles that show up. And we know this is true for the schools right now, but we also know this isn't true just for schools. We know this happens with businesses, this happens with different organizations, this happens with families, this happens with individuals, and it happens with the church. When we moved here 7 years ago to start this church, we moved here with one real goal. It was to reach people for the cause of Christ. That's the goal. And that in love and in grace, we would engage people where they were in life. They might believe what we believe already or not. They may have no faith to start out with. They may be new to faith. They may be returning to faith. They may be mature in faith. That didn't matter. We want to honor God, and we want to be a church that is able to that is understandable. We want to be helpful, and we want to be relatable, and we want to be God honoring in what we do. And we've been driven by this, which is Jesus, some of his most famous words, some of his final words as he left his disciples in Matthew 28. This is the Great Commission. Jesus came and told his disciples, I've been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Therefore, go and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I have given you. And be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Church, this has always been our mission. To be obedient and to do our part in fulfilling this commission as a church. Several years ago, I heard a pastor, Pastor Craig Rochelle, who pastors one of the largest churches in the nation. He shared these words: to reach people that no one else is reaching, we have to do things that no one else is doing. And that has just resonated with me because our goal as the church has never been to compete with any other church. It's never been our goal. It has been to reach more people in our community. Many of those people who have not been reached by the church, people who have been disenfranchised with the church, people who have an idea. When they hear the word church, something comes to mind, and it's not a good thing. And so the style, the way that we do things, how we present things, the environments that we create, they have been different than what many people would think of or maybe have experienced in the past when they think of church. Because like it or not, something comes to mind, and a lot of people who are not being reached, their perception of church is not a positive thing. And so we have sought out to have the things that we do and the way that we do things be done in a way to help disarm people and to help lower walls for people anytime they walk through our doors and anytime they encounter somebody from Element. And that's what we've done since day one, whether it's during our services or doing Faith Night or doing different events or activities in the community, or the approaches that we've taken to get involved with the community and connected with different leaders and businesses and Care for Blair, right? Just to name a few things. We have sought to bring a meaningful and God-honoring impact to our community. And we have experienced some really incredible things so far. I would be lying if I told you that we haven't faced various challenges along the way, though, which honestly should not be a surprise to anyone, because that's the reality of life and the reality of dealing with people and choices and the unexpected. And anytime those things would arise, I know that for me, I would always go back to remember that God is for us. And this sentiment that is found in Romans 8:28. We know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. And we really believe this, church, right? We have been called here. Our family, we moved here. We left everything that was comfortable and close and familiar. Literally, we left being with minutes away from a family to come here because we believe that this is where we have been called according to God's purpose. And the truth is that God has not let us down. In the middle of the challenges, God has provided for us, and I say that both for us as a church, and I say that as an individual personally. I can say that there have been some really difficult times that God has proven to be faithful. Keeping all that in mind, about a year ago, I had shared with the leadership team about what was on my heart and what was on my mind for us as a church, and where we were at, our circumstances, and everything that was taking place. And what we felt like would be the best steps moving forward to continue our impactfulness as a church, which my Microsoft Word tells me impactfulness is not a word, but Google says otherwise, okay? And you should know that whenever I talked with them about this, everything was on the table. Everything was on the table. And I had shared with them, and I would continue to share with them, that for the sake of the church and fulfilling the mission of the church, if the best path forward includes me stepping away, I'm open to that because I care about this church. And so as we continued in that conversation, we ended up entering into a different conversation with another church. Some people that we know really well, and they know what was going on for us. We have an understanding of what was happening for them. And over the course of several months, we really dug into the possibility of what would it look like if we came together. And we used our combined efforts as a team, and we used our combined resources to not only continue what we're doing here, but to even advance and be better off in our efforts here in our community. Because that's what we want to accomplish. That's the goal. That is the mission of Element Church. And that means we're not here just to simply stay comfortable. We're not here to just do what serves our own interests. We have to remember the mission and the vision that God has given and called us to, and why that is so important. And so with that said, some really important news for us here as a church. In the coming weeks, we will be transitioning as a church, and we will be partnering with Tri-County Church to become a campus location for them here in Altoona. And that will take full effect on Sunday, September 13th, which will be our fall kickoff weekend, as it normally is. And before you get too far ahead of yourself or anybody else, I want to explain as best I can in the time that we have this morning what that will actually mean. And we're actually, I have my laptop, you guys can see that I have my laptop here today. If you want to go on Facebook and you have questions, as time permits and as appropriateness permits, that's not to say anybody's going to be inappropriate, okay? But we will try to answer the questions that we can, but the questions that we are not able to answer this morning, we are actually going to have a Zoom call on Wednesday at 6:30 p.m., where you're, after having some time to think and process, if you have any questions or concerns, you'll be able to share them, and we'll talk about them right there. So send those in to me if you know them ahead of time. It just helps so that we can prepare a thoughtful answer to share with you. So to start with what all this means, I want you to know that I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to remain here in Altoona. I'm going to remain here at Elements and function as the campus pastor for our church. And Pastor Chris Trethaway from Tri-County Church will be the overall lead pastor of the church, as he is with all the campuses. Right now they have around 8 campuses in place, and it's a growing, it's a great church family, and it's one that we've honestly been really connected with for a while. Some of my role will change, and some of the things about it will change, but our hope is that this move will actually allow us for more opportunity to be able to dig into aspects of my pastoral role in some different ways. So if you're not familiar with Tri-County, just to give you a brief understanding of our relationship with Tri-County. I've known the Tri-County family for, I want to say 14, 15 years. And the lead pastor, the founding pastor of Tri-County Church, his name is Dave Bish. If you know Jocelyn, who is often up here on stage, she's the short, bubbly, blonde lady, girl, a chick. I don't will offend today. Okay, it's fine. Dave is her dad. Her dad founded and started, planted Tri-County Church in Du Bois. And when she wanted to move here, he was really excited for her because of what she was getting to be a part of. When we planted this church, Tri-County was one of the most supportive churches in helping to move us here. And anytime we had questions or needs or support, they were the church that we were most easily able to go to. And when we had needs, even for some speaking situations, they would have people come down and speak, and it's all been really good. But when we launched this church, Dave, Jocelyn's dad, functioned. He was my mentor. And he was the guy that I looked up to for years and years. Even before we moved out to plant this church, he was the guy that I looked to because the way that he was doing ministry was unlike anything that I had seen from anybody in person. I'd seen some larger national churches doing some really cool things, but Dave he got this, and he was bringing it local, and they were just doing some really incredible things. And so we've had this great connection with Tri-County and their church family and their mission and their vision. Genuinely, it really does have a great alignment with where we are right now. When we get back to having services in person, we will continue to have live music. We will continue to have kids ministry. None of that stuff is going away. Emily is still our kids ministry director, and she's doing a fantastic job. Ethan is still leading in the music ministry with worship, and I'm thrilled about that. And in many ways, honestly, some of the difference that we may see or feel or experience are going to be pretty minimal. But we will be making some shifts and some additions in the things that we do. There might be some language and some wording on things that changes. There might be some areas of ministry that are actually implemented or become better defined, and I really believe all of that should actually help us to better do, and will be to better do what we need to do and be welcome improvements for us as a church. One of the biggest differences we will see, though, is that instead of me or somebody from our team sharing a message or sermon live in person every week, most weeks we will instead have a message that's presented through video. And we'll have a host, oftentimes it'll be me, a host, to help set it up and welcome and have announcements and share what is happening here locally as a church, and then to wrap everything up, and we'll still make sure that it is relevant and applicable for us as a church. But the video, the message that'll be shared will be prepared, and it'll be what's shared for the whole entirety of the Tri-County Church family. So all of that we will have a unity and a synergy in that regard. Some people, I know that will sound different. That might be something you want to push against, and you might want to just write it off. But I'm going to ask you to consider. This is how many of the largest churches in the country operate. That as they multiply as churches, they utilize video so that they don't have multiple pastors who have to prepare multiple messages every single week. They utilize one really gifted communicator for the benefit of more people than they could just have under the same roof. And it's working. There are honestly, and I'm not making this up, a lot of people, they do surveys with their church families, and a lot of people prefer to have the video over the live speaker. And I don't know why that is. I can't say why, but I know that there are a lot of people that they like that. And like I said, some of the largest churches in the country, this is what they use to be able to grow and to multiply and to reach more people. So this isn't a foreign thing. This doesn't have to be something we're necessarily figuring out. The plan is to have a larger screen here in the middle for the weeks that we don't have a live speaker. And so I would just encourage you to be open-minded about that. Because in my mind, when I think about the message, and this is one of those things that affects me probably more than anybody, the biggest goal of the message is for it to be biblically sound, for it to be relevant, for it to be helpful, and to help in helping us to grow and being obedient followers of Jesus. And so if the person is standing right in front of me or not doesn't have to take away from any of the important stuff still being there. But we still need to do this together as a church family because it's important for us to be together. We have a calling to come together and to connect and be community and to encourage each other and help each other grow and to care for each other. Even the early church. We read from the Bible every week. The early church didn't have that. What they would do is they would actually receive letters written from the apostles, and especially Paul, and he would write a letter, and they would gather around and somebody would read it. Not Paul, he wouldn't be there speaking. He would share this message with them, and then they would read it, and they would send it to another group of people who would read it, and they would learn and understand and benefit from it. And they still gathered. This is what they are to do. This is what the church is called to do. And so even though, with that said, even though many weekends will have video message, we will still have weekends throughout the year where we are here live, and it's a live speaker and elements, and everything will be for our context and our community. Pardon me 1 second. COVID. When there's a live speaker here, we will still have messages, set up and wrap up and all that will still happen when there's video when there's not a live speaker. But there will be times when there's a live speaker. But we want to make everything done in the context for our local church, and that's really important for us, and that's something that's a value that they understand as well. Because even though we will be part of this Tri-County family, we're still a local church, and we're still committed to being a part of our community, where that's going to be our context, is we are a local church. And we're not a cog in the machine. This is not a cookie cutter. Well, here's everything you do. Here's the way that you do it. We're not trying to just be a replica. We are a local church, and we'll continue to be a local church. There may be times that all the campuses join an initiative together, or something is going on that is shared by all, which is really great, and it can be really a beautiful thing. But we'll also do local things that other campuses may not do, and the way that we do things may look a little bit different. Because the goal is not to simply copy everything. The goal is to be effective in our context. And so we will still have things like Faith Night. We will still have things like Trunk or Treat with Chick-fil-A. And there will still be other initiatives and outreach and serving opportunities that will be for our context. We are still for Blair. That is not changing. That is not going away. And one of the greatest things about all of this is that we're now more directly part of a larger church family. And that includes a larger team. It includes people with different experiences. It includes people with different expertise. And it includes an ability to access different resources to be able to accomplish what needs to be done in a way that we've not been able to do that before. Things that we might need assistance with, we now have a larger church family that we can say, here's the situation. What can we do? And when there are times that somebody else has a need, we can say, you know what, we've been there. We've done this. Here's what we've done. Here's how we handled it. Here's what we have access to. And that we can contribute as well and be a blessing for our other church family members. That's one of the most exciting and encouraging things about this whole piece. The rest of the Tri-County Church family, they're excited to have us be a part of their family. And we're excited for the blessing that we can be to each other and how we can all benefit from this connection. One thing that is a bit different at the moment is that we are not a new church campus. A lot of their campuses, they started, they planted, and they grew up. We are not a new church campus. We are a currently existing church. And we are joining up with Tri-County. And so in that comes the question, and this is usually one of the first questions that I hear from people, is will we continue to be called Element Church? Or will we be called TCC Altoona or something along those lines? And the answer is, I don't know. We're actually still in those conversations about all of that. And we're in those conversations because we know that there are a lot of people who are part of this church that have genuinely invested in this church, and the name Element means something to them. There is an identity piece to it. And the reality is, we've done a lot of great things in this community that we can use this to build on. And I think Tri-County understands that. They understand the significance of the church, the church has had in the community. And so the best I could tell you is that we are in process on this, because we would be the first campus to have a name that is not Tri-County Church and the location. I say that because this is actually a conversation that may lead to a shift in the way of doing ministry in this way for Tri-County as a church as a whole. And so what I can share with you is, I'll share with you what I shared with Chris when we've talked about this, is that I love our church. I love our church. And I've poured everything I can into this church. Right, I was part of choosing the name of the church. We started this thing. This is, in some ways, this is my baby. But I'm not married to the name. But I am committed to the mission. And so if the name were to change, in some ways, honestly, I would be sad. I would be disappointed. It would just be one of those, just an emotional thing. And it's not like somebody did anything wrong. But if the name changed, I'd be sad, and I think there are good reasons to keep it. But if we change it, we change it. I care more about what we're doing as a church and to see people's lives being changed by Jesus than I do about holding on to a word. And I know that word means a whole lot, but I would never want that to be something that gets in the way of what we're able to do, and to somehow be dishonoring or perceived as dishonoring to anybody that we are connecting with. So with the name, honestly, I can honestly tell you, we don't know. That is a continued conversation. But I really believe when it comes down to it, the decision will be made for what is actually going to be best all around. Another piece that will be a little bit different will be online services. Right now you're seeing what's happening here in Altoona at Elements. The streaming services beginning on September, they would be done with Tri-County and what is prepared. They view online as an online campus. And they have a lot of people that are part of that online campus. And so what is prepared for online for that week, that is what you would see online. We would no longer be streaming from here most weeks. Now we may, from time to time, record things from here or prepare things for the week from here. I might be speaking, we might be doing announcements. Our band, you might see our band members that are a part of all that stuff. Different people from our team may be speaking or utilized in different ways for online. But many weeks, you will probably see newer people that you are not familiar with, people who may not be from Altoona. That's just the reality of joining up with someone new. And so think of it as a really great opportunity to get to know your extended family, because that's what we're part of now, is a larger church family. Now I say all that, if you have any questions that you want to ask right now on Facebook, send them in on the comments, and I'll take a moment and I'll look to see if there's any questions. I'm trying to explain as much as I can right now, and I know there's a bit of a lag, and so there'll be like a strange pause here for a moment. But I will address one thing that I feel a little disjointed if I just brought it up. One of the questions that I'd received before was about the leadership team of the church and what will happen with them. Then the truth is the leadership team will no longer function as the operating board and legal decision makers for Element Church. That will transition to the leadership team of Tri-County Church. Now, I will be there every week. I'll be meeting and sharing, here's our needs, here's what's going on, and they'll be able to make decisions. But they're great. It's a really great group of people. And I believe people that can be trustworthy and people that will look out and decide what is best for us. But they also own the responsibility of what is happening here as well. And so that is what will be happening with the leadership team. And what's nice is that allows everybody who's serving, because they all serve already, to be able to focus in more on different areas of ministry here at Element. So I'm not seeing any questions. I don't know if that means that I'm explaining everything. You have a question? Okay. Okay. Sure. So, Sir Henry asked 3 questions. I'm going to call you that because, you're a guy. Okay. He asked 3 questions. 1, where are the campuses already for Tri-County? 2, is there one already in Altoona? And 3, where is the central, kind of the mothership, we'll call it, okay? So the first question is, there are 1 or 2 campuses in DuBois, and if I get this wrong, if anybody's watching from Tri-County and get any of this wrong, I apologize right now. Ridgeway, there is or was a piece happening in Brockway. I believe it's still there. Clearfield, Lock Haven. I know there's some work. Grampian. I know that, and then, DuBois, like I said, they have a couple things happening in DuBois. DuBois is also where they're centrally located. And it is probably looking at a couple thousand people that are part of this church. As far as Altoona, no, there's not a campus here already. Because again, we're not trying to no interest in somehow being perceived as stepping on toes of anybody, and we're not trying to address a need that doesn't exist. But it really is their way of doing things. It's one of the things that I love about Tri-County. I've always loved about them is their style, but their values and what they aspire to do, and the level of excellence that they strive for is something I love and I'm really grateful for, and I really feel like that will be a huge benefit for us as a church. Okay. Megan Ritchie asks, will we have life groups? Yes, we will still have life groups. Whether the name changes, that's a very real possibility, but we will still have groups for people to meet throughout the week and connect together in closer, deeper relationship and community. So absolutely life groups. We'll actually have a piece implemented that will be called a life path, which is a progression, a discipleship and mentoring progression to help people grow in their relationship with Jesus. And so that's one of those things that I'm really looking forward to being able to have and focus and implement here as a church. So if I see any other questions come in, I'll try to check them, but I'll keep moving. So did I answer your question? Their background? Yeah. Church of God. Yeah, it's a fair question. Henry was asking like their faith, their doctrinal background, it is the same as ours, as Church of God. So out of Anderson, Indiana. And I say that because there's a bunch of different Church of Gods. So yeah, totally fair question. But you would not theologically see a shift or a difference in what is shared. Some of the things that we're looking forward to, just personally, and I'm a pragmatist at heart, some of the stuff that I'm looking forward to is some of the changes that will be happening to our current space. And there is a hope. Doris, I'll get to your question in just a second. There is a hope that we may be able to open for services in person on the 13th of September. We're still watching to kind of see what's going on, but the hope is that we will be able to do that. And we want to get some stuff in place. We're looking at upgrading some equipment, some audio, video, lighting stuff to make our space better and to be able to really present and tackle this the best possible way that we can. And I look forward to that. Honestly, I think our media and tech team will love what we're looking at doing moving forward. But Doris had asked the question, baptisms done where and how? Baptisms will still be done the same way, where we have them here and we have them in our super swanky portable hot tub, and it'll be warm and cozy, and that is the plan. There may be times that we do something church-wide where we all come together somewhere, and maybe baptisms to take place at something like that as well. But they will still happen here. Again, we're still a local church. I don't want that to be missed. We're still a local church. We're just connected to a larger church family now, which will just be for everybody's benefit. I don't see any other questions, and so I want to say that at the end of the day, for our current circumstances, the reality is we believe this will help us to better accomplish the mission of the church, and to allow for our people to be able to focus on areas of ministry in more intentional ways. And it might feel like we have to surrender some things. Listen, if there's anybody that has to surrender stuff in this, it's me. I get it. And there will be emotional things that I have to go through. But I would not do this, and I would not have been cool with this if I didn't believe that this was for the benefit of our church family. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easy. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be popular with everybody to start. But that's the reality with most things that change. We learn and we grow. We have to remember the mission. We really do believe that this will help us have a greater impact. And we really do believe that God will use this opportunity for our benefit, because we believe Romans 8:28, that God works all things for the good of those who love him and have been called to his purpose. Church, we've been called to his purpose. And God has shown to be faithful. The way that he works things for our good may not look the way that we expected, may not even necessarily look the way that we wanted, but we have to believe that what God is working towards is for our good. And so imagine for a moment what our community could look like if more and more people were reached for Jesus. If more and more people chose to trust and follow Jesus. And you see kindness increase, you see integrity increase, you see generosity increase, you see grace increase. If that were to happen, our community would benefit and God would get the glory. That is what we are going after, church. That's what we're aspiring to. In this transition, that's what's at the heart of it. And yes, some things may change, some things may look different. But it's all being done with the purpose and the intent of continuing to reach people and make disciples. We are still the church. So let's be people who live faithfully, even in the middle of change, believing that God is working for our good. And let's be people who believe that even in the midst of that change, God can use this to do something even greater than we thought possible. Because we serve an incredible God that we can be hopeful in. So let's live hopeful, church. And let's live believing that the best days are yet to come. Pray with me. Father God, I thank you for this morning, and I thank you for your faithfulness for my lifetime, for our lifetimes, but especially for your faithfulness in these past 7 years as we have worked to plant and grow and care and lead this church. God, even in the middle of transition, we do not believe that you are done. In fact, we believe that you are setting us up for something even greater. And so I would ask that you would provide in the middle of discomfort, that you would provide peace, that for the things that we don't understand, that you would give clarity where it's appropriate, and you would ease our hearts where we have questions, that our questions would not make us fearful, but in the middle of them, you would strengthen our faith, and we would say, we may not see it all, we may not understand it all right now, but we trust you. And we'll move forward believing that you have something better for us. God, you are good. We thank you for the kindness and the grace that you show us every day. Thank you for being so faithful. We're excited to see what the future holds and how you can use this for something significant for your kingdom. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. So a couple things to remind you of real quick, church. Element Kids, right now the materials are online, the videos are online. Go check those on Facebook. Wednesday at 6:30, we will have a Zoom meeting that if you have questions or concerns, send me those, send them in an email at hello@elementaltoona.com, and we will try to address anything there that is fitting to address at that time. We also want to let you know that we are going to get some information out in the next week or two where you will have an opportunity to get to meet and talk with Pastor Chris and some people from the Tri-County team in the coming weeks. If nothing else, church, here's what I hope you know, is that we love you and that I love you. I'm truly grateful to be a part of this church family with you, and I hope that you will have a great day and that God blesses you as you continue on. Thank you, church family. We love you.